your books here in Russia, in Russian language, but it was, I think, something about 10 years ago it was published in Russia, so it's maybe a little bit out of date. So if you have plans to update
Andrei,
your books,
I think you need to speak loudly.
I just a little bit louder. Is better?
No.
No? No?
Me? You want me to speak loud?
More sound, please.
Like this?
Microphone.
Like this? It's okay?
No, I think we need more sound.
Need more sound. It looks like it's all I have.
Передвинь микрофончик.
Oh.
Yep.
You think it's better?
Wow.
So, Rick, if you have plans to update your books, we would be happy to discuss it with you because we have rather old books here in Russia.
Yeah. Yes. I have been working on a new book, and I intend to update my older books, which are more than about 15 years or so. I don't think I wrote a new book since 2012, which was The Power of Passive Investing.
У нас есть сила пассивных инвестиций?
Нет.
All of ETFs.
У нас all of ETFs и еще одна какая-то.
That's the last book that I wrote called The Power of Passive Investing.
Cover is perfect.
It is a history of the active versus passive debate, and lots of data, lots of references, goes way back to the beginning. And I wrote that in 2012, I believe. Let me see. 2011. So I haven't written a new book in 15 years. So the next part of my career will be going back and updating my old books and publishing a new book and doing more writing as opposed to meeting with new clients. I have lots of existing clients that I'll continue to work with, but I'm not going to take on any more new clients because I don't have the time and I want to do other things. So new clients take more time than existing clients in our business. So I'm not going to take on any new clients. Plus I have over 1,000 individual clients already, but they don't, some of the clients might contact me once every 5 years. Some might contact me once every 3 years, maybe once a year, maybe never, maybe. So, even though I have
paying money.
I only charge them when I have, when they contact me. I know they contact me and we schedule a time, maybe 1 hour, and I only charge them for the 1 hour and then hopefully solve their questions. And then that's it. They don't need me anymore until the next time they come up with a list of questions, and then they contact me again. So everyone is.
What is the main reason for your clients to contact you again? Do they usually adjust their allocation or maybe some?
So it is very, very varied. This week, had a client who is getting divorced, so contact me. how do you value certain assets, and how should I proceed with talking to my future ex-wife about how much I should give her. I mean, people are getting ready to retire. Some people are moving to a different location. There are people ask questions about taxes. They ask questions about they get a new job, and they ask questions about how they should be investing the money in their new retirement account at the new job. It is all kinds of stuff. I mean, you're a therapist, you're a psychologist, or as well as a financial advisor. There's a saying that I heard. I didn't make this up, but I heard this saying, that if you really want to get to know somebody, you either marry them or manage their money. One of the two.
Yes.
So people call me and they confide in me all kinds of things. Sometimes don't really want to hear it, but okay. Try to help, but they trust you. They have grown to trust you because you've been very honest with them about everything. Every time you talk with them, you're very honest, brutally honest, very, very honest with them about everything. Some things you feel conflicted in telling somebody, but you tell them anyway, and that they may not want to hear it, but in fact they appreciate your honesty, and so they when they have other issues like we have to put my mother goes into a nursing home, how do we, what should we be doing, and you name it, you get contacted. And they just want to know your opinion. And you tell them, like, I am not an expert on nursing homes. I'm not. They said, that's okay. I just want to know your opinion because I trust you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll give you my opinion. And, don't take it as fact because I'm not an expert, but they want somebody as a sounding board, and sometimes the things that you get contacted on are very private and unusual in many ways. But I don't know, that's the job. So you try to help.
Mm-hmm. Rick, we have a lot of questions I've sent to you. It's questions from our guys from our association, and
sure.
Maybe we'll try to to move along these questions. And the first is, you are fee-only advisor. Can you say, is it model is the best, and is it fit for every financial advisor? Because we have only few fee-only advisors here in Russia.
Sure.
Sergey, for example, he is fee-only advisor in our meeting, but many people are not. So how do you think? Is it fit for all?
Well, as an advisor meaning giving advice to people. If you consider yourself an advisor, where your job is to give your opinion or advice to people, then you should be charging as someone else who gives advice to people charges, such as attorneys, lawyers. They charge by the hour, or accountants, people who do taxes. They charge many ways for their time. So I believe that if the client is buying my time, that I should charge for my time as an advisor. Now, then there are asset managers. There are people who manage investment portfolios. Okay, Rick Fэрri, I differentiate that. There are advisors who advise, and then there are people who are managing investment portfolios. Now, when you're managing an investment portfolio, you do have to get certain information from the client to manage their portfolio. But the fee or the model for managing money is probably different. It's very difficult to do an hourly model or even a fixed fee model, which works really well for advice. It's very difficult to do that for portfolio management because it usually the assets under management AUM fee for managing money at a reasonable fee, I consider a reasonable fee about 0.25%. That's my reasonable fee. Vanguard charges 0.3 for managing money. That's a reasonable fee for managing money. So if you are going to do both, if you're going to give advice on all kinds of different things that I was speaking about earlier, and in addition, manage money, then in my opinion, there should be two distinct fees. There should be a money management fee for managing your money, and there should be an advice fee to cover all of those other things that we do besides managing their money. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting opinion, and I think some guys are managing their business like you. So they have advice fee and management fee also. And is it difficult to start such a business? Because I think it's you have many years to work on your client base.
Sure. No, I mean, I have helped new advisors get going with their business and hourly business, and they have been very successful. It is a matter of how well you market, how well you get out there and market yourself. I have always done that through publishing and speaking and called content marketing. And so I created a lot of content which brought business to me. And if you give me 1 second, I need to go get a glass of water. Okay?
Yes, of course, of course. Коллеги, вопросы пишите на любом языке в чат.
Ну, прям вот на любом языке. Мы на урду не поймем.
Ай, сори. Выбираем из двух. Так. Ну, не любых, да. Так. Ну и голосом потом тогда. Если кто-то хочет голосом. Или ищите паузу, или потом.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. So we talked about new guys who are starting business
Yes.
and you help them.
So starting the business is not difficult. If you're going to do any type of business, whether it's managing money or doing advice or a combination of the two, there's certain laws you have to follow. You have to file with the government. You have to you create a website. I mean, there's a lot to do regardless of what you're going to do in your business, and that's just getting a business up and running. So that part of it is the same. But how do you become a successful advisor? You have to let people know that you are out there and that you are competent and knowledgeable. And how do you do that? Well, the way I did it, because I didn't have a lot of money to advertise, I wrote articles. I was talking earlier about those Forbes articles that I wrote. I started publishing a blog, and I started writing books, and that got my name out there, and that's how people then contacted me. Originally was through the writing and the books. Now there's different types of writing. I always focused on original content. There's original content that you research and you come up with really unique, interesting aspects of how to look at things. And then there's Me Too writing, which you could just get from AI, right? Hey, AI, write me an article about saving, when you're young, and it writes a generic article about why you should save when you're young. That I never did. Because everybody was doing that. And it was just Me Too, and a lot of the books that are written were just Me Too books, which were just copies in many ways of, somebody else's book or content that kind of everybody already knew. And there was nothing unique about it. There was nothing that was, you weren't breaking new ground. You weren't talking about things that other people were not talking about, or at least you weren't at the beginning of something. So I always tried to write about things that broke new ground, that went beyond what other people were talking about, and that created interest among publishers. It created interest among a journalist who would contact me for articles they were writing. And it grew my reputation in the business as being a interesting, competent financial advisor. And that is what brought business in. So sorry, okay, so say...
it's about crypto assets, and we will talk about them, I think, later. And so you started to write a book. If you start writing a book, you should have some scientific research or something, or maybe you have a position in some company to get information to analyze. How you
I mean, no, not necessarily. I mean, you could use public information. That's all that I use, public information about the markets, about indexes. Like, for instance, you have indexes of your stock market, correct?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
How many different indexes do you have of the Russian stock market?
I think something about 20 or something.
Oh, well, that's a great article. What's the difference between this index and that index? What's the difference, here in the States between the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500, and why the Dow Jones Industrial Average doesn't matter? And what's the difference between the S&P 500 and the total stock market index, right? And why you should be over here. My point is that you have all kinds of things that you could write about that nobody's really writing about, but you may have a question yourself, and a lot of times a good article comes up because you in your own mind have a question about something. I have to look something up, and so you look something up to get the answer to your question. Well, write an article about it, because if you don't know the answer and you had to look it up, well, certainly people who are outside of, certainly people outside of don't know either, right? I mean, if you have to look something up because you're not sure, and this happens every day, you have questions. So if you don't know the answer to a question and you have to look it up, that makes a great article, because it means it's not widely known what the answer is. And so you are now providing the answer.
Mm-hmm. So, if you're starting a new business for fee-only consultant, fee-only advisor, you should look for questions for articles, and this will create your image as a good expert in the field.
And a lot of good articles are what your clients are asking you. So if your clients, if 2 or 3 different clients are asking you the same question, you should write an article about it. Mm-hmm. Because first you could send that to all your clients, but secondly, you could try to, put it on your blog. A lot of my clients have been asking me questions about whatever the question is, and here's what you need to think about, so because if your clients are asking those questions, then it means other people out there who are not yet your clients are asking the same question. So they would take an interest in reading your article. Mm-hmm. And then you might get a new client.
Yeah, of course. And so we have question. I noticed that your website features podcasts from 2025, while articles and blog posts are from 2022 and earlier. What led you to choose podcasts as your primary medium for promotion?
Okay, so the Bogleheads, who I don't know if you're familiar, Bogleheads.
Yes, we know it.
Okay, we had a forum for many years. And about, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, I asked the question, why don't we have a podcast? And so I said, I'll create one, because again, that was a question, right? Why don't we have a podcast? And we thought, we should have a podcast. Okay, well, if on the Bogleheads, if you say, hey, why don't we have this? The next thing you're going to hear is, well, what a great idea. Go create it, right? And so I went out and I got permission from the Bogle Center, which is the kind of the governing body at the time. Mel Lindauer was the president at the time. And I asked him, I said, I'd like to create a Bogleheads on Investing podcast. And he passed it through the board, and they said, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. It was nonprofit, it's a nonprofit organization, so it wasn't a Rick Ferri podcast, Boglehead podcast. But we had, the budget for that was maybe $100. That was it, very, very small. And I went out and I found software and I figured out how to do a podcast. And my very first guest was John Bogle, who was still alive at the time, because he had just wrote a new book called Stay the Course. It was the last book that he wrote, which was about his life, basically, and about Vanguard. So I interviewed him for that book. It was podcast number 1. And then I went on from there. And so I did it once a month. I do everything, 100%. The podcast the Bogleheads on Investing podcast, I get no help. I mean, there's no editors, there's nobody. I have to find the guest. I have to read the research or the books that they wrote so that I'm ready to ask good relevant questions. I interview them for about an hour and 15 minutes, and then I edit the podcast back down to about 55 minutes. And then I put the beginning on it and the ending on it, and then I publish it. And I've been doing that now for 7 years. And it's been, now, at first, very few people listened to the podcast because they didn't know that it existed. But the other thing about publishing is you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. So if you say you're going to do one podcast a month, do one podcast a month and publish it at about the same time during the month. When I was blogging, doing the blogs, the articles, I was writing 2 articles a week. I'd publish an article on a Monday and I'd publish another article on a Friday. So roughly in there. 2 a week, and I did it every single week. People like that consistency. They like it. So that's how I started doing the podcast. I don't get paid for the podcast, but it does get your name out there. So, I spend a lot of time on the podcast, and of course that means a lot less time for doing writing and other things. There's just only so much time in a day. But that's how the podcast got started.
So now it's going on, and you have a lot of listeners there.
About 40,000 a month.
40,000 a month.
Yeah. That's the average number of listeners per month.
Okay. Please, can we return to your business model and
Sure.
how you build trust in relationships with your clients? Why they are trusting you?
Well, as I said a little earlier, I'm not afraid to be brutally honest with them. I'm nice about it, meaning I will, I'm not antagonistic. I don't, go like this to the clients, but I say, John or Jane or whomever, what you are paying me for is my opinion. Right or wrong, you're paying me for my opinion. So if you don't mind, I am going to give you my opinion. And they go, okay, go ahead. And I say, okay, well, this is what I think. And you tell me.
But they should share with you their lives. They should tell you everything. And then you first meet them. Why they tell you everything?
Because they trust me.
It's your reputation. So you're building your reputation.
Well, at first, at the beginning, if they don't know me, in other words, they've never spoken with me before, the interesting thing about the podcast is they've heard my voice over and over again on the podcast. And they know the questions that I'm asking to my guests. And I know that I'm not antagonistic. I'm not condescending or anything like that. I'm just asking questions, and the guest answers the questions, and we get into a conversation. So when they get on the phone with me, I hear them say all the time, I feel like I know you. I've heard you so many times on the podcast. I feel like I know you. I feel like we have a connection. Now, we don't have a connection. I don't know who they are, and we've never spoken, but they feel like they have a connection because they're hearing the same voice that they've gone to trust through the podcast. They are now hearing that on the phone with them. And I think it helps.
Yeah, it's a very interesting opinion. I also think about this. And but anyway, did you have some negative cases with your clients? And what recommendation can you give to avoid them?
I haven't had that many negative. I guess I can remember one where a woman was referred to me. She didn't know who I was. Her brother, who did know who I was, worked with me as a client, and he referred his sister. So I start talking to his sister, and I start asking her questions, so, where do you live, and do you own a house? And she says to me, can we get on with this? I said, what do you mean? She goes, I'm paying you by the minute. Can we just get on with this? I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm not the right advisor for you, okay? I'm sorry, I apologize. I am not the right advisor for you, okay? You need to go find somebody else. And that was it. I cut it off right there. As soon as somebody starts, I don't know, arguing with me, not disagreeing with me about maybe what I'm saying or coming, but arguing with me about something, I'll say, okay, I'm giving you my opinion. This is Rick Ferri's opinion. You have, if you don't want to follow that, that's fine. And if they start saying, well, let me tell you why crypto is the best thing that ever happened. You just don't understand. You don't understand what's going on in the world, and you need to have Bitcoin, you know, And you know what? I'm not the right advisor for you. I mean, really, we have a difference of opinion. I can't help you. But good luck and goodbye. And that's it. Done. I don't need that. I don't need that. And I'm not the right advisor for them. They want to tell me, they want to tell me what I should believe about the fact that they just found out what the word monetary policy means. They just found out, 3 days ago what that means, or central banking, or money creation or whatever. They just found out what these terms were, 2 days ago, and now they're telling me that I need to buy this, or I should be promoting this particular thing. Oh, I remember a conversation I had. This was back in 2007. 2007. Person contacts me. And they said, well, this is when I was managing money. I was managing money at that point. Mm-hmm. And he says to me, how much money do you put in China? And I said, well, now China at that time was just
small market.
But
okay.
Anyway, so it's gone. So 2007 is about where it peaked. But he says to me, how much money do you put in China out of the portfolio? And I said, well, in the U.S., we put about 2/3 of your money in U.S. stocks and 1/3 of your money in international stocks, and probably 10% of that international money is China. So we're looking at maybe 3%. He goes, is that all? That's it? I said, yeah, 3%. And he goes, don't you understand what's going on in the world? And I said, what do you mean? And he says, China, blah, 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 blah. China's going to take over the world. And I said, this is what I said to him. Now, I knew I was not going to get him as a client at this point. I said, is that what you believe? Do you believe that we should over allocate to China? He said, yes. I said, well, you just convinced me that I shouldn't. Because if that's what people believe, that's exactly what I don't want to do. He said to me, you don't understand. I have a PhD from MIT, and I have another degree from Stanford University. And he starts dictating to me how many degrees, how smart he is. And I said, absolutely convinced that China is probably at a peak, and I certainly don't want any more than what's just in the index funds. And he got mad, and he hung up. But it was actually turned out to be true. That was the peak for China. So when people start dictating to me something about the markets or whatever, I have to cut them off. If they start talking about politics, Trump was just reelected. And so I've heard from people, oh, Trump's going to do this, Trump's going to do that. I'm like, look, we don't know. You can't invest that way. You can't allocate your portfolio based on what the media says that Trump is going to do and not going to. You can't do that. It's not going to work. It's never worked. And if they say, yeah, no, you're right, and they back down, that's fine. But if they don't, then I'm going to say, you know what? I don't think that I can help you, because you're not being practical about how you're managing your money. You're being emotional, and you're coming up with all kinds of things that might happen. And if I can't talk them down, then I just say, I don't think I can help you. You're going to have to contact somebody else. And I have the luxury of doing that because there are so many people that are in line to become clients that I'm not going to argue with somebody.
So you think if you start arguing with your clients, it's better to to divorce with this client and not
No,
to
I
give
don't.
them away.
I don't get into that. I'm not a divorce counselor, but if I say if you are going to get divorced, then
Yeah, I mean,
oh, you're talking about from the client. Oh,
from
yeah.
client,
Well,
of course, client.
these people are not yet clients because one of the things that I do is I do a pre-call, right? So they send in their information to me. We set up a time to do 15, 20-minute pre-call. Why? Well,
Rick, it's free. It's free. It's
free. It's free. Oh, yeah, it's
free.
free. Sure. Yeah, it's 15-minute complimentary call. And I just say, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your career. When would you like to retire? Tell me about if you have parents who are going to either need your money or are going to give you money when you die. Tell me about who you are. And then tell me a little bit about how you've been investing your money. And we do this for 20, 25 minutes. I do 30-minute time slots, and I do it one day a week. So Wednesdays are my day when I do these calls. I do about 6 calls a day. So I'll do about 30 calls a week, a month, 30 calls a month that are pre-calls, okay? Now, a lot of times they don't have a lot of questions. They just have a few questions, and I can help them right there in that 30-minute call, and they don't need to go on to become a client because they just had a few questions, or maybe they needed confirmation or validation of what they've been doing. And so we resolve it right there. Thank you very much. Good luck. Sounds like you're doing everything well, or just make these small changes and you're going to be fine and go forward. Okay, so they're done. But then there are other people who they want a bigger picture. They want more time. They want me to look at their portfolios and what they've got in it. They want me to talk with them about what happens in retirement and how to take money out of accounts. And it's a longer conversation. Well, those people then are the ones who become clients. Okay. And then there's the people who have, they have some crazy ideas of what I'm supposed to be providing. And I say, I'm not the right advisor for you. I'm not the right advisor for you. So you need to go find somebody else. And so that's I would say about 40%. 40% of those calls become clients. So out of the 6 people that I would talk with in a day, 2 of them will become clients. 3 of them, I can solve their problems or solve their questions in just 30 minutes or so. And one of them is a crazy person who I'm going to say, I'm not the right person for you.
So it's really enough 25 minutes to get information from client about his life and get him advice?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 35 years. I know what to ask. I know what the important questions are to ask. And, tell me about your family. Do you have children? Well, if they have children, that means the children are probably going to go to university. They're going to need money for that. The children may get married. Depending on culture, if it's a family from India, it's going to be a very, very expensive marriage, a couple of $100,000 US. So by them telling me about their children, I'm able to, in my mind, conceptualize where is the money going to be needed and when it's going to be needed. And then they tell me about their career, how much they have saved, how much they're saving, how much they're spending every year, whether they're going to inherit money from their parents, whether they're going to need to give money to their parents, whether one of their children is what we call special needs child who would not, they're going to need a lot of money down the road because they're not able to work. I'm just gathering in my mind, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes where I can envision where they're sitting, what they're looking at going forward. And I've become very good at that over, a number of years. And so within, say, 10 or 15 minutes of this conversation, I have a very, very good idea of who you are, what you're trying to do, what your liabilities are, how much assets you're going to need, what your taxes are going to be, what your risks are, like losing your job, health risks. I can get all this information from you in a matter of 15 minutes, and then we can have a conversation about the future and about how you're managing your portfolio, and are you doing things the right way, and do you need to make some changes, or should you make some changes? So yeah, I can do it all in 25 minutes, no problem.
And you ask them to send some information before?
No.
Just at the meeting?
Just at the meeting. They might send me a little paragraph of what their situation is. It might be just one little paragraph, but some people want to send me for this free call. They want to send me all kinds of information. I say, don't. I'm not even going to look at it, and I'm not going to read it. So don't send it to me, because I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to read it. In fact, when I get on a call with somebody, the free call, and they say to me, oh, I sent you an email with a bunch of documents. I say, yeah, I saw that, but I didn't look at it and I didn't read it. So why don't you just tell me what it says? Because I'm not going to read it and I'm not going to look at it. This is just a 20, 25-minute call. And I'm not going to do an analysis of your situation. You tell me, look, here, I will ask you what I need to know. I don't care what you sent me. I'm going to ask you questions. You're going to tell me the answer. And then I'll have what I need to talk with you. So tell me about your family. Are you married? Do you have children? So forth.
Выключи, пожалуйста, Инну. Just a moment.
Sure.
And what mistakes have you seen from newcomers, from new advisors? Can you give some hacks or something?
They don't ask enough questions up front to the client. They want to get into their script. The advisor wants to get into their script and give them advice too soon, too early. I mean, you don't know anything about these people. The more you ask them, the more questions you ask, and the more kind of non-financial questions you ask, again, the best way to lead in to a new client, absolute best way, is tell me about your family. Do you have children? People will talk about their children, okay? They want to talk about their children. So, oh, yes, we're married. We have 2 children. Oh, how old are they? Oh, one of them is 4 and the other one is 8. Oh, is the 8-year-old in school? Yeah, she is in the 2nd grade. How's she doing? Oh, she's doing really well. Okay, well, now I know that you break the ice, right? If you start out asking people about their family and their children, the rest of the conversation, they're going to be very open with you, because you're asking about the one thing that they care about most in the world. You're asking about it first, which is, tell me about your children. Are they in school? I mean, that's all you have to say, and they'll talk about their children. All right, then you can say, okay, so tell me about your work, your career. How long have you been working at this current job? Yeah, I mean, you ask questions to them, and you just listen, and that leads to another question and another question and another question, and eventually, you have a picture. You have a picture of their life, which is not much different than your life, my life. I mean, do you own a house? Yes. Oh, How much is the house worth? Oh, it's worth $1 million. Do you have a mortgage? Yes. How much you have left on the mortgage, and what's the interest rate? And then they tell you, and like, okay, that's great. So, I mean, it's just getting a mental picture in your head of who these people are, what their situation is, what their surrounding, what their family is, what their needs are, what they're trying to accomplish, without ever talking about whether you should be in index funds or not. I mean, that comes later. That's down the road. You know, that comes up at, you know, maybe the 15, 20-minute mark. So tell me about your investment portfolio. What are you currently doing in it? I mean, but that doesn't happen until like minute number 20 in this conversation, because it can't. You know, people think that when they call you, they're going to be talking about their investment portfolio, and you flipped it over, and now you're talking about them and their family and their jobs and their homes, and, you know, where they live and where, you know, what's going on with their parents and their siblings. And, you know, you're talking about all this other stuff, and they're talking about their life. And then from there, once you get this idea, you know, a picture in your mind of what's going on, then you can say, okay, well, let's start talking about how you're investing for the future. How much have you saved so far? And how have you done that? And it naturally flows into that, because the investment portfolio is just the tool. It's the tool that accomplishes life, right? I mean, and so you have to know the life first before you could actually comment on the tool, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you have some kind of checklist for this conversation.
Well, I've done it for so long that, again, it's my brain.
But you started with checklist, and it's like a plan for.
That's right. But again, if you have a checklist, you have to be careful, because you don't want to make it appear as though you're following a checklist with the client. Okay?
Yes.
Because if you make it appear like you're following a checklist, they're going to pick that up, and they're going to realize, oh, you're just like all the other people out there.
Okay, but how can you decide when you have enough information for your clients? Because you can ask them whole day, not 25 minutes.
Well, no, you have enough information after 15 minutes. I mean, the point is that you have to be get good at this, at interviewing people, like doing a job interview in a way, right? I mean, you have to be very good at interviewing people to get the information that you need to give them your opinion and advice. And so there's information you need, and you just, you know, you get good at it. You know, there are things you don't want to dwell on. Sometimes if you ask about the children, tell me about the children. They want to tell you everything about their children, that they played soccer or football when they were, you know, 4 years old, and then they started playing, you know, baseball, and then they got into dance. You have to cut them off. You know, as soon as they take a breath, you have to cut them off, because you can't spend 15 minutes talking about, you know. So, you know, and they'll understand that they're just kind of rambling on and talking about something, and you need to go to a different. Okay, we're going to move over here. We're going to go to this thing now, and then they stop. They realize what they're doing, and they stop.
Mm-hmm. And you just need practice to get to this.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, so or maybe you have you can recommend some book about this, about interviewing. No.
No. No book. No book.
It's really interesting, because 15 minutes is not much time, because you can speak with client really much longer, and at the end you don't understand them at all.
Andre, well, thank you for contacting me today. I appreciate that you and your wife are interested in talking with me. Before we get started talking about your investments and so forth, I'd like to know a little bit about you and your family, your career, what your goals are. So if you don't mind, are you married? Yes, I'm married. Do you have children?
Yeah.
Oh, how many children do you have?
3.
3 children? No kidding. That's great. I have 3 children also. Wow. That's good. How old are your children?
I have 20 years old and so. Yeah, okay. So
Oh, so you're in college. What university is he going to? Well, that's great. That's great. That's a great career. Good luck with that. That's wonderful. And your other children, are they also college bound? Now, when I ask this question, what I'm really asking, if you have to think about it, is, do you have any children that have disabilities? When I say to you, do you have children who are, will they be going to college also? If you have a child with a mental disability that's not going to be going to, and they have special needs, this is where I find out. But I don't ask that. I don't ask you, do you have any children with special needs? Because that would be kind of insulting. So I ask them about, well, what are the goals of your children, each of the individual children? And that's how I find out whether or not anyone has special needs. Because if one does have special needs, you will tell me that. You will tell me.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a really difficult job to do this whole day. And the next question, can you feel somehow burnt out at the end of the day? And what do you do to not burn out?
I go have a stiff drink at the end of the day is what I have. Anyway, no, it is tiring. I can't spend more than, say, 3 hours a day speaking with other people. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. And when I do a regular consultation, I have to take notes and I have to write a letter to the client on what we talked about. And I have to bill the client for my time. So there's other admin things, but any more than 3 hours a day of talking with people, I get too tired. So now I'm going to be 67 next month. No, you all are younger than me, so maybe you could spend a little more time than 3 hours, but I find that 3 hours is my limit of actually talking with people.
Do you have some maybe a kind of staff who are working with you, or
No.
you are working alone?
100% me, just me, 100%. I'm number one.
And can you say that fee-only advisors, they are mostly individual advisors, or there are some firm, or how they work?
There's in the U.S. there's now companies that you could work for as hourly advisor. Or you could be independent. If you're independent, you have a lot of administrative things you have to do: compliance, taxes, record keeping, and that takes a lot of time. About 1/3 of my time is spent just doing that. Okay, and then 1/3 of my time is working with clients, and then 1/3 of my time is content creation, which again, the podcast and other things that I'm doing, things like this, is what I call content creation. So 1/3 administrative, 1/3 working with clients directly, talking with them directly and working on their issues. And then 1/3 is content creation, which would include, the podcast and things I do with the bogleheads, and even things like this is content creation.
Another different question. As I understand, in UK, all advisors are fee-only advisors.
That's what I understand. They have a different law over there. They changed the law a few years ago.
How do you think, is it better system than in America, than you can charge as you like?
I'm not. Okay. If everyone was required to charge hourly, that was a requirement by the government, I would not get as much business. All right. So the fact that they have all this other stuff out there drives business to me, because a lot of people don't like that. Okay. So they say, I go to a financial advisor to get my questions answered, and all they want to do is sell me some product, or all they want to do is manage my money. They're not giving me, advice, or they're not giving me good advice, or they don't really seem to care about giving me good advice. I have to ask them questions, and they're almost like reluctant to answer because what they care about is selling me some product or managing my money and getting paid a 1% fee for doing it. Okay, that's good for me. That's good for me because I'm an hourly advisor. So they come to me. And so, is it better? Well, it probably is better for the whole country if you just got paid fee. But for my business, it's better to have everything available because that's so bad over there that it drives business this way to me.
Yeah, okay. And do you remember of some associations of financial planners or financial advisors in US?
Say again?
Do you remember of some associations of financial planners or financial advisors? I know there are NASFP association and any others.
I'm missing a word in there.
We are association of financial advisors here. Do you
What type of advisor?
Any kind of. I just want to understand. Do you a member of some association, and what do you have from them?
Compensation? Is that what you're saying?
Association.
No. Association. Some
Organization,
community of
Oh, association.
advisors.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. So, there's several here. I don't belong to any, but there are various financial planner organizations in the U.S. that you can join. I'm a financial analyst, so I do belong to the I am a chartered financial analyst, so I do belong to the CFA Institute.
You're CFA.
But I don't belong to any of the financial planning groups. It's too much of I used to in the past. But I don't anymore because it takes up time, and I just don't. I'm not getting a benefit out of it anymore. I will be a guest speaker if they ask me to, and I will, participate in video conferencing a lot with these various groups. But I haven't been affiliated with any of them except for the CFA Institute for a number of years. Oh, I think they're good, by the way. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad. They're good for especially for new advisors to learn the business. Absolutely, yeah. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but I'm just saying I'm not a member anymore.
Mm-hmm. So you can't get anything from it, as understood. You have enough your own experience, and you don't need to get to become member of some associations.
Yeah, if you mean for business, clients?
Yeah.
No, I don't need that. No, I don't need to be a member of that. No.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, I'm trying to reduce the number of people that are coming to me. I'm trying to send them to other people right now.
Yeah, of course. And another question: do you use Markowitz optimization of portfolios in your job?
No. The index itself is the ultimate optimal portfolio, so I don't go beyond that as far as equity selection. I just use the global equity index is my benchmark, 10,000 stocks weighted by capitalization. I mean, that's what I use. I don't really go much beyond that.
So you just use some indexes, white index, and maybe some risk-free assets, and you create a portfolio from this.
That's correct. Yeah, that's exactly it. There are three buckets. There is the cash bucket, the cash, which is money you need for working capital, money you're going to need to buy a house, money you need to send your children to college next year. I mean, working capital. And that is a dollar amount. It's a fixed dollar amount of money. And using US dollars, it may be $50,000 that you're going to have in reserve in cash. And then there's the long-term investing money for retirement. And that is an allocation between riskier assets, which are stocks, and fixed income, which would be bonds, or call it bonds. So stock and bond, okay? That's it.
Yeah.
Three things: cash, bonds, and stock.
No gold.
No gold. No gold.
No gold.
No real estate. Nothing.
Well, real estate is equity in a way.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe in buying a home. And if you wish to invest in real estate, that's a great investment. How are you going to do that? Are you going to go out and buy individual properties? Okay, that's a business. So it's outside of the public markets. So I'm talking about the public markets, cash, bonds, and stocks. This is what's traded on exchanges in the public markets. Now, if you personally want to buy real estate, okay, great. That's a business, though. That's a business. Like I'm a financial advisor. That's my business. You would be real estate. That's your business, or at least partially business. So that's that's a different thing. And that's fine. I mean, that's what you do. So sure, if that's what you wish to do. Different countries, by the way, are going to look at this differently. In Europe, they would be more bonds than stock because of the way it's structured there. Maybe in your country, you do more real estate. I don't know. So it could be different. But I'm just looking at, in our country, the retirement portfolios here generally are stock, bonds, and cash. That's the retirement portfolio, because you can't invest in real estate in your retirement accounts without direct real estate. In other words, buying individual properties in your retirement account. It's very difficult to do that here in this country. You could do it with your personal money, not your retirement money, which is under a tax-sheltered government structure. But if you do it with your personal money, that's fine. And you could go out and buy some properties. You could buy some houses and all of that. That's great. Good. If that's what you wish to do, fine. Do I advocate that? Do I tell people who do not have real estate that they should go out and buy real estate? No, I don't tell them that. I don't tell them.
So you will recommend your clients to buy only 2 ETFs at all, or you will have some bucket of ETFs? Or
Well, sometimes it's only one fund. It's a target retirement fund in their retirement account.
only one ETF?
Generally, I mean, I'm all about simplicity, meaning if you could do it with one fund or 2 funds or 3 funds, do it with 1 fund or 2 funds or 3 funds. Now, in taxes have a lot to do with this. So in a retirement account, you could use one fund that does everything. It already has the stocks and the bonds in it. US stocks, international stocks, US bonds, international bonds. It's already in one fund, and it's very low cost index fund. They call them target retirement funds here.
It's target funds.
Yeah, target funds. And Vanguard target funds, State Street target funds. Very, very low cost. It has everything in it. You don't have to do anything. It's already managed for you at a very low cost. So that works really well in a retirement account. It doesn't work in a taxable account because you have to pay taxes every year. So over there, we would buy a stock index fund, usually a US stock index fund, and maybe some tax-free municipal bonds, because there are certain types of bonds here in the US that are tax-free and you could buy them. So it depends on taxes. It depends on the type of account. Yeah. So, but the idea is not to make it complicated, to make it as simple as it can be, so the client understands. They understand what they have. They know what they have. There's no question they know what they have. And there's a problem in our country, the US, where advisors make portfolios much more complicated than they should be, okay? And I call it complexity for job security. Complexity for job security. Because if they make the portfolio complex, the clients don't really know, they don't really understand the portfolio. And so they think that, well, you must know what you're doing. You're the advisor. You must know what you're doing. You made this complicated portfolio. So I don't know what it is, but I trust you. So, here's my money and I'm going to pay you a 1% fee every year. But later on, as people, if they become educated enough, they realize what's going on. And they fire the advisor and they contact me and they say, how do I get out of all of this? Right?
Yeah, okay, understood. And what do you think? Is it possible to beat the market?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible. Sure. And there's even a probability. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's possible to beat the market. So there's a probability. If you buy...
I mean systematically. I mean year by year to beat the market.
No, not systematic. I mean, not it. You could beat the market 1 year by a lot and then not outperform for years and years and years after that, right? So that's not consistency. There's no information ratio there. They call it information ratio. Or you could beat the market by a little bit every single year. Okay, that's better. If you beat the market by a little bit every single year, because it shows that you actually have skill and didn't just get lucky with one big year. Okay. Yeah. So if you're looking for money managers who are going to outperform, you're looking for the managers who consistently outperform by a little bit every single year, relative to an appropriate benchmark. Because a lot of times when you find managers that outperform by a little bit every year, they're using the wrong benchmark. They're not measuring themselves against the appropriate benchmark. For example, if they're a US stock manager, they'll measure themselves against the global equity market. Mm-hmm. And the US stock market has done very well relative to the global equity market over a period of the last 15 or 20 years. So they'll outperform just because they're just a US equity manager, but the benchmark they're measuring against is wrong. They're not buying the global benchmark. They might buy a couple of different international stocks, but the global benchmark is like 60% US, 40% international. So if you use that benchmark, and you call your portfolio a global portfolio, but you're really not investing in anything outside the United States, you're using the wrong benchmark, but it's making you look good. So, a lot of tricks that are being used. So there's very, very few people who can consistently outperform, and nobody can outperform every year, but very difficult. And, or you just get the return of the market. And if you just get the return of the market, you're doing very good. Over a period of your lifetime, you're going to outperform 99% of anything else you would have done. So why not just do that?
But what do you think about factor models of Fama and French?
Well, Gene Fama just gave an interview a couple of months ago where he was talking about the problem of factor investing. And that is, when it becomes known that a factor outperforms, the reason the portfolio is outperforming is because the portfolio has higher risk. Mm-hmm. Value stocks, small cap stocks. Here's the problem. When you publish these papers that we have found a factor that outperforms the market, although it does mean you're taking more risk, people only see we found something that outperformed the market. Mm-hmm. They don't care about higher risk. So this is what Gene Fama said just a month ago. So you get a lot of money piling in because it's going to outperform the market. Mm-hmm. That extra money that's coming in to outperform the market, forgetting about the risk, causes that factor to not work anymore because distorts the factor. It distorts it, and you get factor decay. And so we saw that with small cap stocks here in this country. The premier paper on small cap outperforming large cap came out 40 years ago. Small cap has not outperformed large cap since then, because as soon as when the paper comes out, mutual fund companies launch all these small cap funds and then small cap index funds, and all people know is that I can outperform by buying small cap. So people pile into small cap funds and pile into small cap stocks, distorting the market, causing the decay of the factor. And also it was found out that there really was just a liquidity factor. It was just very difficult to buy small cap stocks. But as you had all this extra liquidity coming in, it became easier. So the liquidity discount went away. So then in 1992, Fama and French came out with the three-factor model, which was beta, which is the return of the market, plus size, small cap versus large cap, another risk factor, plus value versus growth, another risk factor where value is more risky than growth. Well, when that was published, companies like Dimensional Fund Advisors, DFA, started creating funds based on that. And for the first few years, they were wildly successful. And as soon as something becomes wildly successful in the market, everybody, all the fund companies pile in, right? And they promote this. And so you get Rob Arnott with fundamental indexing and research affiliate. I mean, just everybody creates small cap value indexes and then become small cap value funds. And people are investing in them because they think they're going to get a higher return. Well, they haven't. They haven't, because it's been distorted. So this is the problem with factor investing. Anytime you come out with something that's systematically going to outperform, and it actually does for a little while, it's over. It's over.
So it will not work forever. If you discover some any other factor, it will be lasting. Maybe.
Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody.
Do it for yourself.
Right. Exactly.
What do you think about risks? About also, we have in S&P 500, I think 7 companies with very big capitalization. Yeah. Is it a problem or not?
Not if you're a global equity investor, because outside the US, you get a lot of diversification among many different companies and many different industries, many different currencies. So you're getting global stock diversification. So if you think about it, the Magnificent Seven in the US, went way up. But are the people who are in the Magnificent Seven stocks, if they start to sell, what are they going to do with the money? What are they going to do with that money? Generally, they're going to buy other stocks, which means it just goes into a different part of the market, which you already own. You already own that. So it's just if you're a global equity investor, index investor, you don't really have to worry about Magnificent Seven, because like here in the US right now today, international stocks have not performed for a long time, but they're outperforming this year. They're outperforming US stocks. So as money maybe comes out of the Magnificent Seven and flows into other regions of the world, a global stock investor is, even though the Magnificent Seven may be shaky, the rest of the world is picking up. China, Russia, I saw your stock market has done well this year. So you're diversified, and you're going to make the money. If you don't make it over here, you're going to make it over there because you're a global investor.
And how do you make diversification? As in proportion like capitalization of markets, like
it
a
works.
Market portfolio. So you should take weight by capitalization.
That's correct. It works here in the United States. The odd thing is, the U.S. is 25% of global GDP. 25% of global GDP.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But from a stock market, we're 65% of the value of the global equity market. So the distortion there, right? I mean, why wouldn't it be just 25%? of the global equity market? Well, that's because we have some very big companies here in the United States. But also there's a lot of countries that don't capitalize their businesses using equity. They capitalize it using bonds. Again, Europe will capitalize their business more using bonds than they will using equity. So we are unable to invest in companies around the world. Like Russia has some very big companies, but we just maybe don't have access. China has A shares. We don't have access. That's just within the. So even though we're 25% of the world's GDP, by capitalization of the companies that are available out there, a U.S. investor would be 65% U.S. and 35% international.
So it's better to make diversification by capitalization, but it's not possible mostly.
Well, and it depends what country you're in and what you have access to. But for U.S. investors, we cannot get outside the U.S. We cannot get exposure to a lot of companies because of the fact that they've capitalized themselves differently, or because their governments won't allow people outside those countries to invest in their stock market, or it's limited. So we can't, often get access. But if we could, great. It'll show up in the global indices. It'll show up, and then we'll have access. I mean, that's something I can't control, and neither can.
And so I have. And I have one more question about diversification. As you know, because of sanctions, most of Russian investors can't diversify their portfolio worldwide. In practice, most of Russian investors can buy just Russian stocks, bonds, or something, ETFs in Russia. What do you think? It is right for portfolio buy only Russian instruments, or we should try to find some ways to buy some international instruments?
Well, certainly more diversification is better than less diversification. So if you can find a way to access international markets, then you should. And hopefully, there's hope here in the last couple of days that maybe things will get better for you.
We hope so. Today we have 6% market growth in stock market.
Well.
And what do you think about cryptocurrencies? Is it a part of portfolio or not? Part of capitalization of a market?
So there's nothing wrong with cryptocurrencies to use them in trade. I mean, that's fine. It's a medium of exchange. Okay, but as an investment, it doesn't fit into my. It doesn't fit into my philosophy. If it becomes a wider medium of exchange, where corporations like Google, Microsoft, big companies are taking in Bitcoin or some crypto as a payment for buying their goods and services, that will naturally show up on the company balance sheet. It'll be there. Okay, because they'll keep a reserve, like Tesla used to keep a reserve of Bitcoin. They'll keep a reserve. So I don't need to buy Bitcoin because it will show up within the companies themselves that I buy, that they are now holding these cryptocurrencies. Now, should I go out and buy Bitcoin? It doesn't fit my philosophy of investing because I want to buy things that have cash flow, bonds, fixed income, they pay me interest, and that gives the bond value. And then stocks, companies are operating, they're earning money, they're paying dividends, they're growing, they're reinvesting. This is all cash flow. And so for all of my life, been a cash flow investor. I want to be able to see where I'm going to make money. I've never taken money out of that, or in real estate the same way, right? Real estate, you get rent, right? So you could lease land, you can get cash flow. I've never invested in things that don't have any cash flow, like gold. Now, I'm not saying gold's bad, but in the very long term, thousands of years, the price of gold basically reflects the rate of inflation. And that's it. So, okay, do I want to take money out of things that I know are going to pay me interest, earnings, dividends, cash flow, or to invest in something that I'm just going to, over the long term, get the inflation rate? No, I don't want to do that. Do I want to invest in a currency? Do I want to invest in the euro or the yen or sterling that is just going to, it doesn't pay me any cash flow. I'm just making a bet on the price. No, I don't want to do that, because all of that, currencies and gold and Bitcoin, it's all based on price. In other words, I have to be good at trading, not investing, trading, okay? I have to buy this stuff at this price, and when I sell it, I have to sell it at this price to make money. So I have to rely on price to make money rather than cash flow, okay? I know I'm going to get the cash flow from the bonds. I know I'm going to get the cash flow from the stock. I am going to make money on that, versus am I buying this non-cash flow asset at the right price so that later on down the road, I'll be able to sell it at a higher price and get better than the inflation rate. That's trading. That's not long-term investing. Now, there are people who are very good at trading. Don't get me wrong. There are people who are very good at trading. And they need to, when they buy something, they need to hype what they bought, so that other people will get all excited and say, I'm missing out. And then they buy it from them at a higher price. Okay, well, I'm not in that game. I want to be able to buy something that I could hold for 20 years and not worry about it. And that would be bonds and stocks. So I'm not against the traders, but I'm not in that business.
And what do you think about China? It's a growing market, and it's almost as big as US by GDP.
Not quite, but yeah.
Yeah. How do you think we should have more China stocks now? Or
yeah. So you're talking about a GDP weighted portfolio,
yes,
rather than a
GDP,
capitalization.
yes.
This is a strategy. Okay, if this is what you wish to do, if you wish to weight your portfolio based upon the GDP, more GDP rather than capitalization, that will probably work out okay for you, as long as you do it for the rest of your life. I mean, this is not something that you could just do for a few years and see how it works out. You have to do it consistently for decades for it to probably work out. Now, I don't know whether doing it that way or doing it by capitalization weight, at least from a US investor, is going to, which one is going to come out ahead. I really don't know. All I know is that doing it by capitalization is very easy. I don't have to do anything. To buy a fund and let it go. GDP weighting, I have to manage it. I have to manage it, rebalance and take out of this and put it over there. It's more difficult. It requires more time, and it's probably more costly. So when all of that gets factored in, is it really going to benefit me? I don't know that. I do know that this is easy. This is low cost. This will work in the long term, because these companies, the bigger companies, are going to earn the most money. They will flow through to the stock portfolio. I don't know about the GDP weighted portfolio. It's been tried many times, by the way. It's not something new. GDP weighting of stock goes back many decades. Just hasn't really worked in the United States to do it that way.
Oh, okay, guys, I've run out of questions, and I'm waiting for your questions. The first one is how many clients do you have? Chat.
Yeah, okay. So I have over 1,000 clients, but realize a client is somebody who has contacted me. We did the initial call. We decided we were going to do a portfolio review, which I call a portfolio second opinion. So I spent time gathering their information, reading their information, talking with them for about 2 hours, coming up with solutions for them, ideas for them, writing it down in a letter, and sending it to them. So that's a client. Now, I might have talked to that client one time 5 years ago and did this 5 years ago, and I may not have talked to them since. Okay, but that's fine. It's up to them to contact me. It's not up to me to schedule a meeting with them or anything. I don't do that. They contact me. So when I say I have 1,000 clients, I have done this since I've been doing the hourly model. I have done over 1,000 of these portfolio second opinions. Of those 1,000 clients, so far, 330, one third of them have come back for at least one more hour. I don't know how many total will come back over time, but that's how many have come back. Because if I just did a 2-hour call for them last year, they may not come back for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They may never come back. So I say I have 1,000 clients because I did 1,000 consultations, but that doesn't mean I have 1,000 active clients. I really don't know how many active clients I have. It seems last year I did about 150 hours worth of work with people who came back, but this year it'll be another 150, and there'll be different clients. So difficult answer, but I've done 1,000 of those portfolio second opinions.
So you don't schedule for them on the first meeting? No. They decide by themselves
Correct.
to return to you or not?
Yes.
And do you use a kind of CRM system for that?
No. I do have a very long spreadsheet that I keep track of all this in, believe it or not. So my spreadsheet that I created, my Excel spreadsheet, which is very dynamic and very useful, I created enough systematic methodologies within the spreadsheet itself, so I don't even have to have a CRM. But each client that I did this for has a separate folder that I use Dropbox, which is a cloud-based storage. So they, each client has a separate folder that I keep all the notes and all the information in. And if a client contacts me to do another call, I will go back to that Dropbox folder and I will read all the notes from the last time that I talked with them and the letter, and they'll send me new information. So I haven't found it necessary to have a CRM. I think that it's probably a good idea to have one, but I used to have one, of course, when I had my portfolio management company, because it wasn't just me. It was 20 other people working for my company. So everybody had to have access to the data and we all had to be standardized. So we did have a very dynamic CRM. But now that it's just me, I haven't really found I needed it. But I'm not saying you shouldn't have it.
Oh, it's okay to have no CRM, guys.
Who's your usual client? Who is it? Man, woman? What age? Profession? Can you say?
Okay, man, yeah, woman, yes. Age anywhere from early 30s to 80s. Okay, it ranges. Sometimes in a family, the men are the financial person. Sometimes the woman is the financial person. So it varies between men and women. Of course, there are single people as well, and that varies. I haven't done an analysis to see, but I'm going to say it's about 50-50 between men and women as far as who is the financially dynamic person in the family. A lot of people from technology. We have a lot of technology millionaires here in the United States. So there's a lot of people who contact me who are in the tech industry. A lot of people who have sold their companies. A lot of people who are in the medical profession, doctors. I get university professors. I have quite a few people in the financial services industry. Basically, they work at hedge funds. They work for, and you think that the people who work in, hedge funds or work at Wall Street don't need this, but you'd be surprised how many do want this. So it does cover the reach. I have people who work for utility companies, people who are plumbers, people who are well drillers. I mean, it doesn't matter.
You have some, maybe you have some requirements for clients, maybe a size of capital or anything. No,
because I don't. It's an hourly fee. I don't. It could be anybody because it's an hourly fee. Now, there are some people who contact me who don't have much money at all, really, and my fee, which is $995 to do the 2-hour call, and then $450 fee after that. That would really be a burden for them. Okay, so I do it for free. Okay, but I don't send them a letter, but we just talk and I tell them to take notes, and I do it for free. So I have 2 fees, and I think this is important. I don't discount my fee, ever. No one gets a discount. No friends or family discount. No one gets a discount. It's $995 for the 2-hour call and $450 an hour for everyone. No discount. That's one fee. The other fee is free, pro bono. So either it's full cost, full fee, or free, one of the two. Makes it very simple that way. I make the decision, I'm the one who chooses whether you're going to pay the full fee or it's going to be free. And if it's free beyond the 20-minute call that I do for free anyway, it's because they don't have a lot of money and they do need, some help. So they contact me and they're very nice to me and they treat me well, attitude matters.
Yeah, of course.
I will spend, sometimes an hour and a half with them, helping them, and I won't charge them for that.
Can you recommend any book about asset allocation, as I understand the question?
My own book, all about asset allocation, is a good one.
But it's really old in Russia, as I said. It's 10 years old.
Okay,
is it
sorry
quite
about
enough?
that. Still good.
It's okay.
It's still good. Yeah.
Still good.
And do you have a different recommendation for clients with different age?
No, that's a good question. The answer is no, I do not. The idea, there's a lot of rules of thumb. As you get older, you should have more bonds and you should have less stocks. That's not necessarily true. We speak with a whole range of people, people who have a lot of money, people who don't have much money, big range, okay? People who are retired, people who are young, big range of people. The rules of thumb are for these people right here in the middle, okay? That's who they might fit. They don't really fit these people, and they don't fit these people, okay? So, I say, look, if you think that just because you're getting old, you should have more bonds, let's talk about that. Why might not that be true? Well, because you have far more money than you're ever going to need. So you're not investing the money for yourself. You're investing the money for your family and maybe for your grandchildren. And what allocation would you recommend they have? And they'll say, oh, yeah, they should have a lot of stock. Well, then you should have a lot of stock because that money that you have, 90% of it is going to go to your children or your grandchildren. So why wouldn't you allocate the portfolio based on what their needs are rather than what your own needs are, because you're only going to use this much of your money. Oh, I never really thought about it like that. Yeah, well, you should think about it like that because that's the way it is. Okay, so a lot of these types of conversations. Yeah. So rules of thumb they're not rules. They're not even close to being a rule. They are an idea that may fit these people in the middle, maybe, but not those people or those people. So that's where you come in. That's where your judgment comes in.
May I ask a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
Joseph, of course.
Rick, what's the idea behind this pro bono conversations with the potential clients? Is it just charity, or you expect them to grow in the future and become your good clients?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just open to having a conversation with people if they wish to become. Most of them contact me because they think they may want to be clients, but I don't take them as clients because they don't have complicated situations, and I can resolve it right there in that time frame, 30-minute total time frame. Or they have ideas about investing that I can't help them with anyway. But like I said, if I do 6 of these conversations, 2 of them will become clients. 3 of them we resolve the situation, and then 1 of them is I can't resolve it because we're on different planets. So it's both. Yeah, it's both.
Do you sometimes refer people to other experts in neighboring fields?
Oh, all the time.
You mentioned real estate, you don't do it, so you obviously would recommend someone?
No, I don't. I don't recommend that to go to somebody. I'll recommend they go to a website. For example, Jim Dolly from the White Coat Investor. He has a good website on how to invest in real estate and all the different ways that you can invest in real estate. He has a course on it that he put together. So I will refer people who may be interested in real estate investing. I will refer them to his website so they can read about it, maybe take the course, learn about it. But I don't send them to, an individual real estate fund. Same thing with an attorney, like let's say an estate planning attorney. Very rarely will I refer anybody to an estate planning attorney directly because here each state is different and you have to, be very specific. Accountants, same thing. I really don't keep a list of all the different accountants in various cities around the country, so I can't refer them to that either. So my referrals are very general and rather than specific to a particular person.
Do you get referrals yourself sometimes?
All the time. Yeah, I'd say, I get them from clients and I get them from other advisors. I get them from lots of different places. For example, a lot of corporations big corporations have financial websites where there's they can converse amongst each other. So say Google, for example, and people will ask on that website, hey, I need to talk with a financial advisor. Who do you recommend? And somebody who has used me in the past will come up and they say, contact Rick Fэрri, here's his information. So probably a third, I'd say, of the people who contact me are referrals. A third of them come from things like my podcast and writings and books. And a third of them are people just searching for hourly advising or advisors who are not managing money. And so it's a combination of a lot of different things.
So there's nothing wrong about referrals.
Wrong? Why would they be?
There's
Why would
nothing
that be
wrong about
wrong?
referrals. You're getting them all the time.
What would be wrong about that? I don't understand.
No, what I mean to say is that you just mentioned that you don't refer people usually to individuals.
Just because I don't know them. I mean, I don't know all of the estate planning attorneys in New York. I don't know all the estate planning attorneys in California. It would be difficult for me to refer to the people who ask me look, hey, I live in New York. Can you refer me to somebody, and specifically Brooklyn? Oh, all right. I don't know anybody, I mean, I can't
I can give you
refer.
some.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, all right. So that's for technical and ethical reasons mostly, right? You don't do. You don't
Well, there is a technical, yeah, because I don't know who they are. Liability side, I guess there's a problem there as well. I mean, if I referred somebody to somebody who didn't do the right thing for them, but I don't think that's going to be a problem, really. I mean, estate planning is pretty straightforward, so I don't have to worry about that for an accountant or estate planner or something. But I just don't, I mean, it's technical. I don't know who they are. So I don't even know a website to refer them to. Because if they just get on Google and they type in New York estate planning attorney, you're going to get whatever the highest paying estate planning attorney is willing to pay to get put up on top. So, I don't know.
Did I get it right that you only do investments? You don't do any other kinds of planning, like estate planning? You don't give advice in that field?
No, I don't give very specific. I don't give specific advice, but I know enough about estate planning and enough about insurance. I know a lot about taxes, personal taxes, so that I can tell when there's a problem. There's a problem that people need to see an estate planning attorney because they don't have they don't even have a will, power of attorney, medical direct. They don't even have any of that. And then there are people who are here on a green card who have children in this country, and they might have come in from India, and they don't even have guardianship paperwork for their children if something should happen to them in this country where their children are U.S. citizens. And you need to see, I could tell when there's an issue and they need to see an estate planning attorney because there's a clear and obvious problem that needs to be resolved. Same thing with insurance. If they don't have disability insurance, it's often a real problem if they're young and they've got a young family and it's a one wage earner in the family and that person doesn't have disability insurance. I mean, there's some things that just jump out at you that are red flags that I could say, okay, hey, look, you need this. You need to go see somebody who can help you with this. Yeah.
Does the same go for life insurance and long-term care?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
With retirement planning, you don't set up plans, right? You just tell them that they need one. And then you recommend a website.
Well, I didn't want to mention any names here, but yeah, there's websites out there you could go to that would help. But I mean, I do help them with retirement planning, meaning where are you going to get the money from and why would you take it out of this account versus that account? Are you getting health care through the Affordable Care Act? Then, might do it this way. So how to distribute money from these various pots of money, tax deferred, tax free, taxable, sometimes even annuities based upon your taxes, the tax code, ordinary income tax rates, capital gain tax rates, and so forth. So I know that very well, and I do help them with this. I also recommend a couple of books. William Reckenstein's book, Investment Strategies, is very good. And then there's again a website that I send people to a lot to just use the information that's there. When it comes to Social Security, whether you should take it or not, I mean, there's an opensocialsecurity.com, which is written by Mike Piper, who's, on the Bogleheads. It's free. They can go there. I mean, so I try to give them resources to, get more information. But as far as writing a 35-page plan, no, I don't do that.
Okay, you don't sell different products like.
No, I don't sell any products.
So you recommend them, but you don't set them up.
We discuss it. We discuss it at the beginning of our meeting. You can
miss 31st minute, maybe that's the
yeah.
Probably does. But that's right. I don't sell. My only source of revenue is what the clients pay me in an hourly fee. Okay, so either the $9.95 and the $4.50 an hour. That's my only source of revenue. I do sit on a couple of investment committees for I've been paid by various people to help investment advisory companies with their structuring of how they work with their clients, but I don't really do that much anymore of that. It's mostly just paid directly from the clients.
Probably final question.
Okay, Joseph, it's Kate.
Just one more. Just one more real quick.
Oh,
Okay.
What do you think about the abundance of new indexes? They're all over the place. There's so many of them, I don't know how many there are.
I don't call them indexes. I call them spindexes. Spindexes. Okay, they are. I call them. I coined this term back 15 years ago. Special purpose indexes. They're only created for the sake of creating a product. That's it. If they were not if a product was not going to be launched against these things that were created, the index wouldn't exist. Well, that's different than the S&P 500. That's different than a total stock market index. So you have to differentiate an index that's used for economic purposes, an index that's used to measure the value of a market. Those are the type of indexes that I use. I don't use the spindexes in client portfolios.
So, Kate, it's your question.
Hello, Rick. Thank you for meeting today.
Thank you.
It's an honor for me to talk to you, and I want to ask you, what would you say to client if he asked you for guarantees when investing? When he asked Rick, what guarantees? I want to multiply my money. I need guarantees. What would you say to him?
Well, there's no such thing as a guarantee. I guess if you need to have the closest thing to a guarantee of getting your money back, you should probably invest in U.S. Treasuries. Probably the biggest guarantee you're going to have. There are certain insurance products out there that the insurance company guarantees them. So there are certain products you could invest in that those products say they have a guarantee, although there's no guarantee the insurance company is going to be around. So you'd have to stop at the whole idea of guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantees in life, and I can't guarantee anything. I don't know what else to tell, but I don't get that question, by the way. I don't, but that's how I would answer it.
The question is, then client come to you and ask directly, I want a guarantees. You will say them go to T-bills.
Well, what do you want a guarantee of? What a guarantee?
You want to be sure that you can grow his money.
I'm not the right advisor for you. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to go find somebody else.
We also don't want to tell clients when they ask our questions. That's why I ask you. Maybe you know.
No, you just don't work with that client because the client has expectations that are too high. You say, look, I think I'm sorry, but I can't give you any guarantees. I can't even guarantee that next time you call me back, I'm going to be alive. I mean, I wish I could guarantee that, but I can't. So, there is no guarantees. And if you need a guarantee, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
And
Thank you.
And what percentage of your client follow your recommendations?
Well, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Very good question. Because I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I give them the stuff. I give them my recommendation, and it's all written out. I don't know. There's no follow-up. I don't know whether or not they did it unless they contact me back to do another hour. And when they do, usually they'll update their information and I can see whether or not they did it or not. I'll say that at least 70% actually implement it. And maybe 50% do the entire plan. 70% do at least 50% of it. And then there's some people who contact me 2 years later, they haven't done anything. They haven't done anything. They want to do it, they just haven't done it. Now, taxes have some consideration here. Realize that sometimes they are invested in a taxable account and they have big gains and they can't do anything because of these big gains. Now, if there was a bear market that came along and brought the stock market down, they would be able to do some things. But they can't do it because of taxes. And I tell them that. I mean, in the letter, I say this is something you would want to do if the stock market goes down, but between now and then, you may not want to do that or you're going to incur taxes. Now, if they retire and their income goes down, then they may be able to do it because they may not have to pay capital gain. Again, it gets to the U.S. tax code. But there are certain ways of which you can unwind things in a taxable account. But sometimes we just haven't had a bear market in a while to be able to unwind some of these positions that they have. So, but about 50% fully implemented, 70% do some, and then there are people who don't do any.
Quite nice. Okay, guys, the last question, I think, and we will thank Rick Fэрri for joining us. So if you want to ask something, please ask.
One more question, of course. So, Rick, can we, our association, make some article on our website or on websites of our members about our meeting?
Oh, sure. Sure. Be my guest. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. No problem.
Okay, because it was very inspiring, and I want a lot of people can get this information.
Oh, great. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever you like. As long as it's true. As long as it's true. It's okay.
Yes, it's true. It's really very useful for us.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us. I hope we'll see you again
Thank you.
In a while. And okay, nice to meet you again.
Good to see you. So should I sign out?
Yeah, and good luck in your plans with your books and with your blog.
Thank you.
We are waiting for your new books. Yes,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
have plans, and
A lot of people are waiting. You know, I will get them done. It will get done. It may not be done for a while, but it will get done. Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Have a nice
Okay,
day.
bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Классно, такой заряд энергии, прям супер. Американцы, конечно, молодцы.
67 лет.
Да, вообще.
Он не выглядит ни на 67 лет, он такой бодрый, такой классный, и я прям очень сильно благодарна, что вы эту конференцию организовали, прям вы крутые. Андрей, Даша, я не знаю, там, сердечки вот эти вот, и такие, и такие.
Сердечки, да?
Да.
Я даже практически все понимала, но к концу уже такой мозг подустает, потому что не общался давно на английском, но выпадаешь так. Но
А я перенервничала, я так нервничала, задавая ему вопрос.
Не, ну вообще,
крыша уже поехала,
у
конечно.
него супер, конечно, понятный английский, и он так классно выступает, простыми словами говорит, очень мне понравилось. Прям вот его, я понимаю, я спросила про это, там, написать, ну, я просто надеюсь, что у меня когда-нибудь хватит на это времени, но я думаю, что я смогу практически как с русского написать просто с листа какое-то небольшое интервью. Ну, то есть, мне кажется, что вообще классно он говорит.
Спасибо огромное. Мне кажется, это было такое резюме вообще всей деятельности финсоветников как бы за 2 часа.
Да, он же очень простые вещи говорит, и это так круто, когда...
Круто, это просто, вот это ценность.
Вот зато, оказывается, можно просто за здравый смысл тоже брать деньги.
Мне очень понравился вопрос, по-моему, даже я его задавала, да, негативная история, и про то, что как он берет... ну, то есть, каким образом он работает с клиентом, и с кого берет денег, с кого не берет, потому что такой думаешь, ну, блин, как-то там кто-то пришел, там тебе денег, ты вроде как бы это, не обесцениваешь ли себя? Да, но он очень как бы классные, ценные вещи так расставил, потому что, ну, действительно у нас есть некоторая миссия, да, помочь тем у кого есть запросы, у кого есть деньги, но также есть некоторый слой, у кого, ну, правда, нет денег, и здесь, ну, такой небольшой вклад как бы в
Ну,
человечество,
интересно,
можно
да, то есть
сказать.
вот человек, да, у
Это
которого нет
круто.
недостатка в клиентах, тем не менее делает бесплатные консультации.
Это просто было
Смотрите,
вообще,
он, да,
я прям заценилась.
он
Ну,
не
я его
делает
спросил, зачем он
скидок,
это делает. Он сказал,
да.
что и то, и другое. Вы слышали, да?
Да,
И
Да, 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 да,
конечно,
да, да.
Джозеф,
и
а
для
никто же
будущего.
не питает иллюзий, просто как раз забавно, что подход, ну, он мог бы вообще этого не делать, в принципе. Я так понимаю, что у него это на другой встрече, где мы его и отловили, он рассказывал, что он на самом деле не способен все лиды обработать, что он не способен
Я хочу сказать,
встретиться со всеми клиентами, которые ему пишут.
У него
у
там
меня
виш-лист вот
есть целая
эту.
презентация на эту тему, почему вот я, например, как не надо делать, как неправильно делать. Если клиент вам кажется неподходящим, бедным, у него ничего нет, это не значит, что он через там 3 или 5 лет не станет совершенно другим человеком.
Джозеф, у него,
Просто.
насколько я помню слова Рикка, да, то есть у него на 3 месяца вперед забито расписание полностью новыми клиентами. То есть он, когда ему кто-то пишет, да, то есть он уже ставит в расписание куда-то там на май.
Ну, так это все так делают. Но тут вопрос в другом, что у него модель, он дал свой advice, и дальше ему плевать. Сделает человек что-то, будет делать, не будет, вообще до лампочки. Позвонит ему когда-нибудь через полгода, не
Слушай,
позвонит.
ну, вот может
Он
быть,
даже не
когда
знает.
ты берешь $850 за консультацию, наверное, человек ценит то, что ты сказал, и делает чаще. Потому что
А
у меня
я
такое ощущение,
поэтому и
что...
спросила, потому что у меня такое, как бы, не было ощущения, что
Нет, это вот как раз
100%.
разница. Это вот два подхода. Когда я, например, работаю со своими клиентами плотно, по 30 лет, и я знаю про них все, я знаю, о чем они, пардон, там, в постели разговаривают, потому что я слышу с двух сторон. Но, то есть я как бы как член семьи. И поэтому, когда там рождается ребенок, например, мне звонят, когда там, не дай бог, разводиться собираются, я всегда в этом... Ну, то есть вот то, что он рассказывал. Но я тоже даю адвайс, и я не всегда беру за это деньги, особенно с клиентами, которые очень много лет. Просто это другая модель. У него построено на, вот как вы сказали, common sense. Он дает такой, ну, я бы не сказал, conventional wisdom называется, но он больше, чем conventional wisdom. Понятно, он знает много всего, и он дает правильные советы. Но у него нет такого взаимосвязи такой с клиентами, как у меня, например. Но с другой стороны, я не работаю на fee only. То есть я могу брать фи, я могу не брать фи, я могу брать фи и получать деньги комиссионные параллельно. Это не запрещено ни в законом. У меня есть
Ну,
лицензии на
кстати, интересная вещь на этот счет сказал
советника и
Джозеф.
так.
Мы в самом начале это обсуждали, что он в этом случае считает, что нужно брать отдельный фи за advice и
Отдельно.
отдельный фи за управление и за все
Ну, вот я
остальное.
так и делаю.
Да.
Но я не только управление как бы я раньше делал, я перестал этим заниматься.
Мгм.
Потому что просто невозможно, это отдельная профессия, это нужно
Нет, ну
заниматься
вот у нас,
только...
например, там тот же Миша Штейнбок, да, то есть он за advice в этой конструкции денег не берет, то есть у него только за продукт.
Ну, разные есть подходы, да,
Да, то есть вот
разные
Рик считает, что
варианты.
нужно тарифицировать всю работу, и ту, и ту.
Мгм. У него просто своя модель. Вот он дал адвайс и как бы деньги получил, на этом закончил. Он даже сказал что вот сегодня, что он не составляет финансовые планы. Потому что это большая работа, это надо сидеть, корпеть, и это не приносит таких доходов. Сколько можно взять со среднего человека? А
Да.
работы там на несколько дней, как минимум.
Сереж, а
Поэтому
что ты
он себя
думаешь про то,
завалил этой
что
рекламой.
он, по сути, портфель-то не составляет, а выдает фонд,
Он не да,
таргет и
он дает
привет?
общий совет.
Нет, в смысле, что это не портфель, а просто таргет фонд и привет.
А это да, это еще проще. Но он же сказал, 3 фонда, у него все очень просто.
Да, да, да.
То есть у
Что
него
не
там
надо усложнять.
предельно просто, не надо усложнять. Между прочим, я вот замечаю со стороны, что в России любят усложнять. Вот тут он прав. Там такое
Да, да.
Ну, а
заумное.
иначе не
Составили
солидно будет. Ну,
портфели.
что это за портфель из 3 активов? Тебе
Ну, да, да, да.
представь,
Ты
типа,
советник или кто
Для вас
вообще?
это
Я и
странно.
сам мог бы
да,
слепить там.
да.
Посмотрите, пенсионные фонды, вот, которые я упомянул, Target Age Funds называется, или,
Не
ну,
пенсионный, это
короче говоря,
вангардовский.
нацелены на конкретный год.
Вангардовская, да, целевой датой фонда.
Да. И они рассчитаны так, ну, то есть менеджмент этого фонда, что они делают? Они инвестируют агрессивно в начале, а потом по мере приближения к пенсии все менее и менее агрессивно, и в конце совсем консервативно. Ну, чтобы человек деньги не потерял перед самым выходом на пенсию. И я вот смотрю по своим клиентам, когда им дают на работе, у них там есть у многих пенсионные планы, они, поскольку ничего не знают, они выбирают такой фонд. Потому что написано коротенько, для чего он сделан. Вот если вы уходите на пенсию в 2038 году, там есть фонд. Он называется 2038.
Ну да.
Вот, все, вот и берешь. И
У нас, кстати,
многие
на
люди
следующей
так делают.
неделе будет встреча с доходом, которые будут про такие фонды рассказывать. Они
Да,
сделали
они как раз
их.
пытаются в России эту модель тоже внедрить и
В этом
рассказать
есть
про нее.
смысл.
Да.
Ну, то есть вот у нас в следующий вторник у нас встреча на эту тему.
Так, у меня ко всем оставшимся, кто наши члены, огромный
Живых.
просьб. Да, написать в чат, как вам понравилось, чтобы побольше коллег посмотрели эту запись. Я знаю, что у нас многие просто хотят смотреть запись в переводе, что, в принципе, тоже сейчас технически вполне осуществимо. Вот. И если у вас останется после этого какая-то энергия, напишите нам пару слов на английском. Мы отправим ваши отзывы Рику. Я думаю, что ему будет приятно.
Хороший отзыв отправить.
Спасибо нам выделил.
Или честный.
Спасибо. Спасибо, ребята.
Brutally honest, Джозеф.
Рик же говорил, что он абсолютно за honest.
Да. Не, ну он молодец, конечно. Он бренд создал свой и на нем едет.
Ну да, но он потрудился, чтобы его создать, и он как раз вначале же очень классно, в принципе, сказал, что это такая систематическая работа, вот, что это не история какого-то волшебного успеха.
Но смешно, что рефералс он не дает, а сам берет. Просто 30% у него примерно людей приходит по рефералс.
Ну, referrals это в том числе те клиенты, которые его рекомендуют. Его
Ну,
клиенты
естественно,
рекомендуют
нет,
другим
ну,
людям.
неважно.
Да.
Ну, клиентская масса, конечно, дает.
Да,
Но я живу только на рефералс. Я вообще нигде не рекламируюсь, не пишу, как он там, множество статей и книг. Но мне хватает, постоянно есть клиент. Рефералс от центров влияния и от собственных клиентов. 100% только оттуда. Но когда у вас большая клиентская база и вы много лет в бизнесе, это неизбежно. А тем более, если вы это умышленно делаете, то есть целенаправленно знакомитесь с центрами влияния и договариваетесь о вот этом взаимообмене клиентами, то оно работает идеально.
Но я так понимаю, что у него действительно основная проблема с тем, чтобы самому на кого-то давать, что вопросы специфические, связанные с разными штатами, разными юрисдикциями, и он, правда, видимо, не способен оценить квалификацию.
Это правда, да, когда он это объяснил, то с ним согласен, да. Потому что законы разные в разных штатах, и он не может там, ну, он не может просто знать. Ну, у меня, например, есть лицензия в Калифорнии, но если кто-то оттуда из моих клиентов попросит адвоката калифорнийского, у меня нет. Ну, я найду, вернее, я даже знаю, кто. Но как бы, ну, реально, да, нет там большого выбора, как минимум, нет.
Так, ну что, всем спасибо.
Да.
Блин, вам спасибо огромное.
Спасибо, я уже даже в чат написала, уже благодарность, чтобы сразу все сделать. Прям эмоции уйма.
Да, нет, это очень эмоционально было, очень круто. Спасибо огромное.
Спасибо.
Да, пойдемте учить английский язык. Потому что, как говоришь, редко и трындец, конечно.
Да,
ну это как та собака, все понимаешь, а вот сказать уже бывает сложнее, ну.
Да, и смотрите, если кто-нибудь хочет частично процитировать, ну, он, по сути, дал прямое разрешение, поэтому можете где-то использовать у себя в материалах.
Так, запись совсем не разбрасывайте.
Вообще не будем разбрасывать. Да. Мы будем неистово бунтовать.
Ну, это
мы вообще там были.
Это
Я ему
вопрос в том
скажу,
числе и санкций.
подписывайтесь в НАФ и посмотрите запись.
Вопрос в том числе и санкций, поэтому не надо подставлять Рика.
Да, но как бы он же тоже не маленький, ну, он про санкции вроде как все понимает, но он напрямую дал право цитировать, так что можете, в принципе, писать, если вы считаете, что вашим клиентам это будет ок.
Спасибо.
Круто, спасибо огромное.
Спасибо.
Пока-пока.
Да, всем пока.